Chelsea at the movies! Scary edition. Woo!
So tonight we went and saw the movie Overlord.
It's also called 9!
No.
That's...
Okay, so this movie takes place in 1944, World War II.
Yeah, it's during the invasion of Normandy, and it follows a group of soldiers who jump with the 101st Airborne Division. Hats off to my great uncles that jumped in there as well. Anyway, they have a mission to take out a specific tower in this village, and they make the jump, and they go to do that. Which is, yeah.
All right, so
this movie's bananas.
That's a setup for this movie. So this movie going into it, what it reminded me of was Abraham Lincoln Vampire Slayer, Pride, Prejudice, and Zombies. So
really? I had a higher idea about this movie.
Well, when it started, I was like, oh, because it's going to be a mashup movie. That's what I knew. It was going to be a war movie, but it had a little something extra in there. And so that's what I mean by that, mashup. And then when the movie started, I was like, oh, this is good. I liked those other two movies, but
they're not good.
They're not like good, but like this was like somebody put a lot of time. The way it was filmed, the acting was all really good. All really good. I just thought it was a good movie, really well made. I really like the originality. Like whoever made this movie had an original creative thought in their head and put it out there in the world, and I can really respect that. And the movie had some good themes in it that I'll talk about later. But what do you think overall about the movie?
Yeah, I expected it to be a good movie because I knew before it was released it had really high Rotten Tomatoes scores. And the style of the movie looked trendy and cool and interesting. And the premise of the movie looked cool. And this movie, to me, when going into it, I was like, was this a graphic novel? Was this a comic book? And at the end of the movie, I haven't looked it up yet, but probably. Like, it's, you know what I mean? It seemed like that kind
of... Well, like Overlord. It's total, like, comic book name, right?
Yeah, so we'll put it in the show notes. So here's the truth of the matter, if you will. Rachel, are you going to go, wait, or skip?
I'm going to say go because I think that, I mean, not only was it a good movie, I think it's good to support movies like that. So I'm going to say go with a caveat. It was pretty violent, so this movie isn't for everybody.
No. Yeah, definitely, it's going to get a go from me. I thought it was well made. It was heart-pounding, thrilling excitement. I was never bored. I jumped on my seat a few times. Everything I want out of a good, like, thriller-type popcorn movie.
Spoilers. All right, so we can get in and talking in a little more detail in this movie. I call it a mashup. It was a war movie with but was a horror, gory movie also like right in the middle of it.
To me, this movie is basically if Saving Private Ryan had a baby with Resident Evil. You know, we're like, here's this movie. And you're like, oh, you know, like it was that. Like, it was really, I thought, well made and used the horror genre to illustrate the horrors of war. And it starts out as just a war movie.
Yeah.
And then it turns into what it becomes, which is like kind of like Resident Evil, or what's that Will Smith movie with zombies where they're fast? Do you remember that movie?
I Am Legend.
I Am Legend. Kind of something like that.
Yeah. And so we talked about that on the way home, that it was a way to show viewers, just regular, like, civilians, if you want to say, the horrors of war without showing the, like, reality, like, the real horrors of war, which would be really hard, probably, for all of us to take. And it was so intense, and what the characters in the movie were going through, that you really felt it. Like, there was the... one character in particular who I'm going to say is the hero of the movie, the main character. He really, like, you could see how deeply affected he was by everything that was going on throughout the movie.
Yeah, especially it had an arc. Like, the beginning, he was the one where everybody didn't think he was a good soldier.
Yeah, they thought he didn't have what it takes to be a soldier.
And then he becomes one of the heroes and the main hero of the movie. Really like that. I think that happens a lot in war or other situations.
Yeah. Well, and they thought he didn't have what it takes because they saw him as maybe soft or weak or whatever you want to call it. He was too nice. In reality, he was kind and he was merciful and he was loving, and those are actually the things that like got him through, and he made the better decisions, and he didn't give in to like some of the evil of like torturing or killing people for no reason. I really liked that the movie portrayed that, like the strength of mercy.
Yeah, it was a thrilling ride of. I mean, it was very, very violent. It was gory, but
and it was meant to be like a horror movie.
But it was fun. Like I had a good time watching the movie.
I close my eyes, like that's what I do at violent movies. So
yeah,
I can't comment.
It's not for the faint of heart. I'll give you that.
Maybe Kelsey saw all those scenes, but I was like this. So I thought, I'm a really visual person, so I thought the movie, the way it was filmed, was really good. All the colors were like deep and dark and bold, and everything, pretty much almost everything was intense in that it was really close up. So like you followed this squad of soldiers, right, that started out like probably like 20 or 30 of them on this plane, but the beginning of the movie was super intense.
Yeah, like
because the
movie was immediately intense. Yeah, and it lasted the whole time.
And you, by the time like they jumped, you were just left with like 5 soldiers going through the rest of the movie. So it got really small really quick, and then you were in this tiny village, and then in this house became like the main like point of focus for the whole movie. So I just liked that we were just so tight into everything. And then with the colors, I really liked that. Some movies can be really dark and gray or have kind of a bluish tinge to them. But this movie wasn't like that. And so it was kind of but everything was set in the 40s, right? So you were kind of, it was kind of giving like a modern day like washover that time period. And I thought it was a great way to bring like modern day audience into the movie.
And that's part of why it reminded me of a comic book or a graphic novel. It had a certain quality that was bold, and it had a lot of color, but not too much color.
Yeah.
You know, like it was done in a realistic way. Really liked the movie. I'm more of an auditory person, and I'll say that the score for this movie was good too. It was really, everything about this movie was tight. The production, the directing, the casting was great. I thought everybody in the movie was really great at their roles. And that's not common for movies. There's always like 1 or 2 people that stick out, and nobody really stuck out in this movie.
Yeah. I'd like you to talk about what you said about the guy that played the corporal who was giving orders.
Yes. So the corporal, he was more of the classic archetype hero in that he had been in war before. He knew everything to do. He knew that they had to be just as ruthless as the other guys. And I thought they did a really good job with that character. It gave that character dignity and allowed him to portray his character with a certain amount of valor, but also showed that you live by the sword, you die by the sword, and that kind of thing. It showed how violent of a person he was, the lines that he was willing to cross, and ultimately how he suffered for that, but still left him with the human dignity that I think it was nuanced. It was a nuanced character, and I really liked that character among many.
I would say overall, like, well made. You know, everything we said, the acting, the dialogue, the way it was filmed, the score, had good themes in the movie. All that said, for me, I'm probably not going to see this movie again. And if I look back on like the year, it's not going to make like, I mean, we haven't seen that many movies. It's not going to be at like the top 3 or anything. It was just, I guess for me, was probably a little too violent.
Yeah, it's not the movie
needed
for
to like say like a little bit more in order for me to be like, okay, like it would have need to take the themes that we talked about and develop them a little bit more for me to like jump on board and for it to be a top movie.
So you have to decide if you're a Rachel or a Kelsey. And if you're more like a Kelsey, then you'll probably like this movie, you know? I would watch this movie again. I thought it was really good.
Yeah.
Also thought the actress who played the woman who lived in the village, the French woman, was really outstanding.
Chloe,
and she showed so many different facets of her character. At times she was frail,
Yeah.
At times she was scared. At times she was really bold and brave.
Yeah.
And I thought it was just another example of a really great character.
Yeah.
That was cast very well.
Well, she was like a really great feminine character. So she was beautiful in just like her femininity, like the way that came across. But that didn't mean like she was weak. She also showed strength, but she was also like a woman in that as women, we are, like I am at a disadvantage if I'm in like a parking lot at night by myself or things like that. So if I was in a war zone area, I would be at a disadvantage. And it showed that it didn't try to make it pretend like she didn't have to worry about those things or...
Compare her character to the female lead in the Predator movie. And remember how she was a scientist, and then all of a sudden she's on top of this man with a shotgun,
right? Like
with no explanation, and we were like
her,
what?
How she got trained to do any of this?
Yeah,
yeah.
Anyway,
so like this character, really great feminine character. Just like I thought, Wonder Woman was also a great feminine character.
Captain Marvel looks awesome, y'all. And in this edition, wait, what is this?
For Chelsea at the movies.
Horror genre, the rural juror. What do you think about the movie, Leia? I think it illustrated kind of.
Hey,
go over there.
Quiet.
I think it illustrates.
All right.
This has evolved greatly, and that's why we go to the movies, and that's how we became Chelsea.
Okay.
Like, comment, and subscribe, or else.